pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, first we have a 6:30 appointment with Joseph McCarthy of Ipswich Pharmaceutical Associates to discuss a request for an updated letter of non-opposition for Ipswich Pharmaceutical Associates and business update. Mr. McCarthy is requesting an updated letter of non-opposition for Ipswich Pharmaceutical Associates as requested by the Cannabis Control Commission, which states his business will be located at 116 Newburyport Turnpike. Mr. McCarthy will also provide the board with an update on his business. Mr. McCarthy, good evening.
Good evening.
You'll be giving a regular feature of our meeting.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it is good.
It is good. I'll give you an update from our last meeting. Prior to our last meeting, I had I indicated that we had the approval from the CCC to move forward with the RME, the recreational licensing process. On the 7th, I was here. We went through the host agreement, got the signed host agreement. I think that was signed back in, my paperwork says April of this year. With that, on the 7th, I indicated that we would have the community outreach hearing for the town of Raleigh that was posted in the town crier. I think it was 2 weeks prior, and we held that on the 8th. With that, we submitted...
How many people showed up? Just curious.
3 people showed up.
Good.
3 people showed up. But we did have some people show up, which is good. Along with that, we submitted a request for a full traffic survey with regards to parkings, linear approaches and all that. We received that and submitted it to Kirk. I believe it was on sometime around the 5th of July. We submitted that and submitted the special permit application. I think it was a $1,200 fee at that time. I'm not sure what the fee was, but we also, on the 6th of July, we had a confirmation on our site plan that was going to have a walkthrough with the planning board itself. That was going to be on July 16th. That would go over the whole process, any additional safety requests that were going to be added on. So with that time, we did on the July 16th, we did the walkthrough with the chief. We did it with the fire department, with Kirk, with the chair of the board, Mr. Thornton, and John, another board member. What we discussed there was, one, if I could add another handicap space, which was fine with me. We added extra security in the back, which was another interlocked door for the rear entrance and exit, so that it wouldn't just be one door exiting, it would be the same principle as an entry door at the front, where we would have an interlocked door where if the outside door was open, the inside door would be automatically locked. So we had discussed that. We discussed the also the security with regards to a cage, safe, that type of area. What we did was, I said on our last meeting that with some of our larger clients that we're discussing with financing, they have roll-in cages that are inside the unit themselves. We discussed the security of money with regard to that. A Brinks pickup or we have a special lock box that you deposit the money on, fingerprints and handprints. That whole box is impenetrable. It comes in with a Brinks or a light company, takes that whole box out, brings it to that firm where we don't even see the money. It just gets deposited, they count it, they regulate it, and it's wired or shipped to our bank. So that's what we discussed on that. We discussed also the upgraded security and plan that I had submitted to the chief. The fire chief indicated that the only question he had was if the sprinkler systems would be altered whatsoever to change the coverage of the fire system itself. And I said if there would be any change, the architect would regulate that and show that on the architectural plans that we're going to submit to the planning board by next I think it's 2 weeks from now. Along with that, we did the change of permit, change of application for the Ipswich Pharmaceutical to relocate the license to Ipswich, from Ipswich to Raleigh. That's why they're here requesting an update on the license on the transfer. So we go in front of the board. We were in the front of the board on
The planning board.
planning board, yes, the last planning board, but the peer review was not available at that time.
Right, so
We
did
would
they schedule the public hearing?
They had,
when is
they
that?
indicated that they would get back, to it either be on the 29th or the 8th. And they're waiting for the peer review to work that. And that's where we stand. They appear to be pleased with the progress, the updates on the security, fire alarm, and I'm very open to whatever else. I did indicate and ask them for a waiver because we are not changing anything structurally, just a internal architectural plan so that it would indicate exactly where the doors, the exits are. Handicap ramps, we don't need it, but handicap access to toilets. We had submitted a plan indicating how we would access handicap availability or the necessity for a toilet facility. And to access a toilet facility in there, you would have to get a manager. The manager would have to sign in. The individual would have to use the facility with a badge. Along with that, the individual will be walked to the toilet facility with the manager. Stay outside the toilet facility, and then re-escorted back through the other interlocked door that separates the actual retail location and all the offices. With that, that patient or the individual who has to use the facility must sign out again. Take the badge away, and those were the procedures that we had discussed, particularly so with the chief. And that to me, safety, the security is without the utmost of and we're just waiting on the planning board.
Okay. Anything else, gentlemen?
Well, Mr. Chairman, the only thing we're doing tonight is changing the letter from no address to 116.
Right. Yeah.
Before Turnpike.
Yes, that's correct. And also, that was with regards to, on the top side, there was, on the SI, is that the BI issue up there? I don't know. That was, the issue was the 116 or the 1/122.
There's a couple of different locations.
Yes, but they said it was all under the 116.
Okay, so this letter says 116, so.
That's what it is, yes, the
Okay.
116.
All right, so can I have a motion to sign the letter?
Make that motion.
Second.
All, it's been made and seconded, all's in favor?
Aye.
All's opposed, the ayes have it. Okay, anything else?
I'm not being excused?
Yeah, yes, you may.
Okay.
Thank you, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Is James Motzkin here?
Yes.
Okay, do you want to,
Come forward.
yeah, why don't you take this seat? It's a 6:40 appointment, we're only a minute ahead of time. Okay, we have a 6:40 appointment with James Motzkin, president of JRM Hauling and Recycling, to discuss recycling center cost increases. Mr. Motzkin is on tonight's agenda to discuss the rising costs related to recycling. The board met with his associate, Ricky Floramo, on July 16th to discuss this issue. Due to changes in the global recycling markets, JRM has increased its hauling and disposal fees. The town's budget of $19,000 cannot cover these costs. The annual operating cost at these new rates is approximately $60,000. We would need to go to town meeting and request a transfer of approximately $41,000 to keep the center open at these rates. Some ideas the board previously reviewed are as follows. Limit what is accepted at the recycling center to just paper and cardboard. This will reduce the number of bins we're renting from JRM and the hauling and recycling costs. One problem to strongly consider with this idea is that people who enter the site off hours, as they currently do, may continue to dispose of plastic, glass, etc. We may be charged a penalty for this. Number two, close the center pending the move of the center to a secured area phase out the closing for a determined period of time with the FY19 budget parameters and give the public due notice, 3 months or 4 months. 3, try to get additional funding at a special fall/winter town meeting to continue operating the center. The total FY estimated cost is over $50,000 based on the amount JRM is saying they need to charge a town on a monthly basis. So we'll need another approximately $32,000 to $33,000 at least, in addition to the current FY19 appropriation of $19,000. Solicit prices from other recycling companies, though I'm not sure if this will result in a dramatic price reduction. So to continue into next year, or even this year, it's going to cost the town $50,000 a year to run its recycling center. Is that accurate?
According to our first proposal, yes.
Right, okay, all right.
So originally, I proposed a schedule for collection and disposal of all of the contents at the facility. And I proposed that to Ms. Egan. And as you said, Mr. Floramo came here to the last meeting and discussed everything that's going on in the recycling market, as I'm sure everybody's aware of and has read in the papers and seen in the news. After that, as Ms. Egan contacted me, we obviously want to continue with the town. We don't want to have you close the facility, or the drop-off facility, I should say. We're sympathetic to the fact that everybody wants to recycle. We want everybody to recycle. It's just the problem with the market, the way it is now, and the rising costs. What we once were getting paid for, we are now paying to get rid of. So there's been a complete flip-flop as to what the value of these materials are. That being said, what I spoke to Ms. Egan about was possibly following up and running out this fiscal year 19's budget with JRM with the intention of extending with JRM for a longer period of time, maybe a 3-year contract, whereas we, quote unquote, take the hit this year and you're able to budget for upcoming years, and in years 2 and 3, where we increase those rates to possibility to get back into market conditions. So that was something that was proposed. We thought we would talk about it tonight and see if there is some, either opposition or some type of discussion about it.
So you're proposing a 3-year contract, so the first year would be at current rates of $19,000 a year?
Correct.
And in the years 2 and 3 would be at increased rates?
Correct.
And what would those be?
$37,500 for the second year and $45,000 for the third year.
Okay.
So it brings it lower than the initial proposal that we gave to you, in hopes that the recycling market turns around, and think that we're able to withstand some of those obstacles, and hoping that we can continue with the town, and that the town can continue to recycle. I know that obviously, with residents, that's a big issue. They want to recycle, as we want everybody to recycle. That's the business that we're in.
Right.
But obviously, there's different costs to it now, and we need to make sure that we cover our costs in collection and disposal
Sure.
of it.
Sure. Gentlemen?
Well, you empty right now, you're emptying the bins, all 4 bins, once a week on Monday or Tuesday?
Correct, yes. Excuse me.
I mean, I swing by there once or sometimes twice a week. I went in on Friday, last Friday, and the big tall cardboard bin is too tall to see in. But the other bins were all half full already on Friday. They'd been emptied on Monday. One of the biggest problems we have there is we have no way to block public access. So one of the problems we had, and your drivers probably mentioned it, was like at Christmas time especially, and other periods when everybody's ordering cardboard boxes. They go down there and nobody breaks the boxes up. I see people with a 4x4 whole box not folded up in the bin on a day during the week, so that now that greatly limits how much can go into that bin. So without having any supervision there, when the guys are there when the people are there on a Saturday, when we have normally open hours, they make sure that people fold up the boxes, and boxes in particular are a problem. and if we're going to continue to run the place, we have no way of securing it. In other words, it's a Mass Highway owns the site. There's a double gate there, but they have to have access to it 24 hours a day so that the outer gate stays open. And if we tried to gate in the area where the bins are, then your trucks don't have any ability to really to get in there and empty the bins as needed. So it's obviously a difficult problem, and people want to recycle. I've been recycling since we started it many years ago. But it's something that we need to look at in terms of where is it going. We've all read in the newspapers. Newburyport News had a large editorial. A Globe and the Herald have all had numerous articles about the problems with recycling. The market's gone. The Chinese don't take all the stuff for free anymore. They charge. Consequently, the charges, all go down, keep going up to we get down to the little guy at the bottom, which basically is us. And even I know Mello over there used to take recycling in Georgetown for nothing. Now he charges if you want to bring recycling over there. Somebody said Newbury doesn't charge, but I don't think they'll be going. If they don't charge, it won't be long before they do charge, because and basically I think we had a letter, an email from a resident who said that she sees Mello charges for pickup. If you want to hire him, you can hire different people in town. The Cook company doesn't recycle at all. Mello charges extra for recycling, but the person who sees the truck come through says that everything goes into the same truck bin, so they're not really recycling. It's not worth their time you're charging you extra, but you're not, you might as well just put it out with your rubbish because it's not being recycled. So I don't know what the answer is. I know we're having increasing problems up there with the amount of stuff coming in and the inability to sort it or have we only have money. We open it Saturdays, I think, from 8:30 to 12:30, 4 hours every week, and there's a good crowd up there when that happens. But like I say, I go in there all the time, and during the week there's an awful lot of stuff brought up there. I look in the bins, and there's stuff that doesn't belong in the bins, which increases the cost, because when people put stuff that doesn't belong there, that you guys pay the price to have to sort it all. So I mean, it's a tough problem, and I don't know. Are you foreseeing that the market is? I'm not really anything I've read. I'm not seeing that the market has got any hope of changing.
Not
in
right
the
away.
near future,
I wish I
anyway.
had a crystal ball, but unfortunately, nobody saw this coming either.
Right.
So I think that to see in the foreseeable future, I think it's going to continue to be this way, whether it plateaus or dips down again, or maybe comes up a little bit. Who knows? But as of right now, I think we see that we have to protect ourselves as well as you have to protect yourself to hedge against this type of market.
Yeah.
But as far as the illegal dumping or dumping during the week, I don't know if that's really the issue. I think more or less the disposal end is the issue, because I don't think you're going to change how much you have. You're going to continue to get it, and I think the residents like doing it during the week if they have.
It's
cars or
easier, no
whatnot.
doubt about that.
But as far as going from 4 to maybe 3, I don't know if that helps or not. It might help cut down on some of the disposal, but is that going to be the answer? I'm not sure.
Well, the problem we run into there is if we cut back to 3, then stuff ends up on the ground. I mean, that's what happened at Christmas time last year. The administrative help here, along with the highway surveyor, had to go down and pick up literally a truckload of stuff that had just been dumped on the ground down there because the bin was already full before Saturday morning. So, and that's, you guys came down. And I do want to say that, having been here for a while, with the previous contractor we had with the recycling, JRM has done an excellent job of picking up every week, being on time, providing whatever service they can. So it's not a matter of your company, it's a matter of how we decide we want to pay. I mean, it's going to be a lot of money at a time when we got a lot of other expenses to go. So
Yeah, I think $45,000 a year is excessive for
I mean, it gets
service we're providing. I mean, in view of what other fiscal problems the town has, and what other needs we have, seems
You
to
want
me.
to go shorter term? Is that
Well,
go year to year kind of thing, or is it something where
Well, I think obviously,
I'm open to.
if you're willing to go 19,000, you got to make the money up somewhere. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not going to
Well, that's why we.
you're not going to do
we were open
19,000
to-
next year too. I'm sure. You know what I mean?
Probably not. No.
It's a matter of
Unless things turn around this year, which, like I said,
Doesn't seem
doesn't
like.
look like the
that-
case, it would be increasing to the second year.
it looks like it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
I mean, as the way I read the newspapers and the articles and the journals.
If
and
it gets
stuff.
better, we could always start up again. So.
Absolutely. I mean, we're always open to.
There are
to-
problems with our facility, in addition to the ones Dave mentioned. I mean, when it's rainy or snow on the ground, it's really a mess down there. And, you know, cars have to go in, there's only one way to get in, they have to back out, it's kind of difficult too. Do you know for a fact that the stuff you haul is actually recycled?
Yes.
It is, so everything,
It goes through our facility, whether or not what's in the container, somebody throws something away that they shouldn't, that might not be recycled.
Sure,
But
right.
as far as those containers that we're hauling, those go directly to our facility and get sorted out. So the trash, if there is trash in there, goes to trash, but all of the
Sure.
recyclable materials go to recycle, absolutely.
okay, well, that's nice to know.
Yeah, no question about it.
Bernie?
Yeah, Vernie Cullen, Weathersfield Street. If the recyclables were just limited to paper and cardboard, would that reduce your costs and save, because if it's a clear rule, then, scofflaws can be identified and appropriate fines levied, I would guess.
So to answer your question, the big materials that are costly to us are glass. There once was an outlet for it where we were getting charged, let's say, $5 per ton. Now we're getting charged $85 per ton. So, big swing there. So the cost of those has increased significantly. And unfortunately, paper, mixed paper, is what, you talk about China. That was the big, they had the big appetite for material, for mixed paper. So that, like I said, once we were getting paid for, now we are paying to get rid of to other markets that China is not accepting. Cardboard, to your point, does have some value to it. So if you wanted to separate that, I think that's the majority of fiber now anyway, and where the weight is. And mixed plastics, 1 through 7s, not rigids, do have some value as long as they're clean.
I mean, most people don't know what a rigid plastic is.
Like
And not clean.
Yeah.
like a kiddie swimming pool isn't
okay.
something that's
Right.
a big Rubbermaid barrel.
Right.
Is a rigid plastic. That's not of value.
Right.
But your tuna fish can, your other metal items, soup cans, it's metal. It's a scrap metal market. That varies as well. So there is some value to the recycling, but those items that I talk about have the less weight, and everything goes by weight. The stuff that is the heaviest, like the glass, costs the most. So that's why we're seeing that change in material structure.
Now, glass is not being recycled at all, is it?
Not well. If there were some town programs to say, hey, the glass that we recycle, bring it back to the community for drainage or some type of fill, we would be happy to give you as much glass as you want.
Right, yeah.
But unfortunately, a lot of cities and towns don't have that program.
I understand it's cheaper to make a glass bottle than it is to dispose of it.
I'm sure it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
And glass is most, I think, of what we recycle. I mean, I think the biggest weight-wise, anyway. I mean,
If you took out the glass, that would.
guess that glass is like 60% of what the average homeowner recycles.
Well, just think. 60% by weight. If you take that value, you're right back to where you are in your budget. So you take that out, you go from, however many tons to less because of no glass.
Right.
So that's, if you say no glass to
Yeah,
everybody,
that's
that could
what
be
people
big.
want to recycle, though. I mean, I think. Personally, that's what I want to get rid of, is
Yeah.
the glass. But Larry?
Yes, Larry White, Central Street. Several things. I think we're almost talking about trash disposal versus recycling
Yeah.
at this point. And like the Mellow person said, the last meeting, the glass is worthless and goes in as trash anyway. The plastics are maybe marginal. So we're talking about maybe corrugated cardboard and paper. And, you know, I think, well, several things. One, instead of locking up the facility, we might consider locking the containers, or having the containers with a smaller slot so that you can only put in broken down corrugated cardboard. We could also look at, with the paper, maybe having the Boy Scouts take over for their paper drive all of the paper recycling and only have corrugated cardboard, something like that. Otherwise, it just doesn't seem to be economically feasible at this point, and I appreciate what you've done for the town. And, you know, you certainly have probably gotten a lot of cardboard that is not acceptable because of grease or whatever. Pizza boxes, okay, is a good example. But, you know, if you have we'll say the Boy Scouts taking care of that, they can kind of look at the stuff and say, well, we can't accept this or that type of a thing. It's a nice community project. It could be, you know, maybe once a week or once a month, whatever type of a thing. But it just doesn't seem to be economically feasible or worth the town. And I've been recycling for 40 years here and in Maynard. So I'm a great fan of it. But if all we're doing is collecting trash and paying for it, we're defeating the whole purpose.
Our biggest concern, Mr. Chairman, is security of the site. Because if we wanted to limit it to plastics, 1 through 7, and cardboard, let's say, all week long, people are going to dump in whatever they want to dump, and then, you know, maybe Saturday mornings, the attendants are there to monitor it. But if the bin is already, like I say, last week I went, and this is the summertime, so a lot of people are away. The bins were basically half full already on a Friday, and we didn't legally recycle. You know, the recycle center wasn't actually open until Saturday morning. So, you know, the concern is that you know, the ability to monitor the site, and that particular site is just, when we don't have any other site in town that's available, that's monitorable during the week on a weekly basis, because it's, you know, in other words, the idea is if you could close the gate and lock it up, and that would be helpful.
That would be helpful, yeah.
But we don't have that ability at that site, and we don't have any other site that's large enough that, without putting it into a residential neighborhood or something, which nobody wants, you know, you got to look for a commercial site area, so that you know, you don't have houses and people coming in and out, and trucks coming in and out with kids on bicycles, stuff like that. Route 1 is obviously a good area to do that. So, you know, at this point, you know, we're kind of between a rock and a hard place, and, you know, with the costs being what they are, we got a lot of marijuana people want to come in, so maybe someday that'll be some extra income, but in the meantime, it'll be a year or two before that income is coming in. And we got, you know, lots of increased school costs and other costs that are going to be coming up in the next couple of fiscal years. So, money-wise, things are going to be tight.
And we could limit it to paper or whatever, but we're still providing a half service or even less than that. And I don't know. I don't really see the value to that, because people are still going to want to go to the Newbury facility and recycle there, or the Georgetown facility, and people still going to want to recycle, but we're only collecting paper. I don't see like a lot of value to that. But
the other thing too is, are we getting, if if Georgetown is charging for recyclables, or do we have Georgetown people coming? We don't check IDs or anything like that. Do we have Georgetown people coming over here and
Newbury doesn't
dumping for free in
They
our?
don't charge in Newbury, and it's the same company, so I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
they definitely charge in Georgetown.
Yeah.
But I mean, we got Georgetown people coming over to dump in our facility, but it's not monitored. I mean, in the old days when we had the original landfill downtown, you used to have to, show your ID. We had stickers, I believe, at the time that, to indicate you were a resident.
Mm-hmm.
I know Newbury used to do that.
John Hazelton, Bennett Hill Road. I used to go to that facility, and they had said Georgetown residents are able to recycle for free still. They have to show an ID.
Right.
So I don't know that people are coming over, but
Yeah, and they're able to monitor. I mean, there's somebody there.
Yeah,
I bring
right.
stuff over there periodically when I get a lot of stuff that I don't give to my guy that picks up my trash. But I mean, they monitor that all day long. So our problem is security and being able to monitor the site. I think we all would like to recycle, but at this point, it's just becoming impossible to maintain. I know the Boy Scouts I believe they still do it every other month. They collect all the newspapers down behind the Congregational Church. And I believe they have someone George Pasanka used to have a friend or something that would haul it for nothing, so they weren't paying any hauling fees, and they were getting the money for that. So they're still doing it, so they must still do that. But
If they want some paper, we got plenty of it.
well, that's what's happening. I'm not sure what their deal is at this point, but it's just becoming tougher. It's tougher. I'm sure they're going through the same process. I'm sure if they're getting any money, it's probably less than what they used to get.
You have something else to say, sir?
yes, thank you. Just a question about the glass. You had mentioned that perhaps it could be used for landfill. Do you have any thoughts on what other communities are doing with the glass? If there's a way to kind of pull the glass costs out? I agree with you that it's still, like, from a convenience perspective, it would be nice to have everything there.
Yeah.
But is there a way to kind of pull the glass out and do something that's cheaper with it, so that it could still be collected there, but then?
If it was solely glass, clean glass, then there is, a way to get rid of it. Glass companies are looking for that, but if it goes through a MRF process where everything's combined and you have the bottle caps in there and you have the labels and everything else that are mixed in there, the straws, lemons and limes from Corona bottles, all these sorts of things that we have to try to extract, that obviously degrades the value of it. And we'd be happy to just put a container just for glass, and if we can guarantee that it's clean, then there is a possibility to dispose of that and recycle it right away, directly to the bottling companies.
I wonder what the cost differential would be to ensure something like that. You'd probably need the increased level of supervision.
Got to monitor it.
That's
Yeah.
Right.
the big thing.
So is the cost of hiring somebody there to be there more frequently offset by the decrease in the cost of recycling the glass? I don't know that you'd know the answer to that, but
Yeah.
maybe that's something to look at.
I don't know
if
how
it's
much you
possible.
could get somebody to supervise it, but I think that's probably a costly.
Well, that'll probably be a cost of the town, I would think, so
Yeah.
No, I understand that, but I'm sure
Increase our
that
cost.
that cost is probably a large cost.
Yeah,
And
right.
It's probably not gonna offset,
Yeah.
what we're talking about from the budget now for recycling to what we are proposing.
What's
And
the
if
value
you-
of
if
a
you-
ton of clean glass?
Probably about $5 a ton.
And if you go down there on a Saturday morning, when the place is busy, the person who was monitoring it is got his hands full, or her, depending on who it is, just making sure that the paper goes here and the plastic goes here and the glass goes there. So, it becomes I'm sure you find when your sort is in your facility, probably down on Route 1 there.
Yes.
I mean, it's a labor-intensive process. So, I mean, it's.
Yep, the machines can only do so much.
Yeah, so at this point, unless someone has a magic solution, it seems like we may have to just close it down. And
No.
if you want to recycle, you either take it to
I think we
Newbury
should close down.
or you take it to Georgetown.
That's where we're going, aren't we?
I see no alternative
Yeah.
because of the cost.
So I guess the next question would be, what kind of period do we allow for a 2-month period? Probably be adequate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, how much money is left in the budget right now? Debbie, do you know
We
offhand?
just paid the July bill, and there was a spike in July, so that was almost $5,000, so we're down to $14,000.
So we're down, so we only got
For FY
5,000,
19. So that was 1 month.
so we got 14,000, so you got,
So I would say, you know, by the end of September.
well, August, we're gonna get another bill by the end of September, by, say, October
Maybe
1st, or
middle
whatever
of
that lasts.
October, I will need some costs to maybe clean it up and, you know, in case there's some
Those,
trash.
the bins that are over there, 3 of those are your bins now, right? And 1 is our bin? Is that the way, I think,
believe so.
I believe that's the way it's gone.
Yeah, it's either 3 or I think maybe all 4 now. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'd have to take a
could
look.
be, yeah, because our bins were pretty well rusted out from years of
What
use.
we'd be willing to do is, you know, sign of good faith and obviously the relationship that we've had, I'd be willing to go through the holidays. I know that you said until October, but as a couple gentlemen and people have said, that I think yourself, that around the holidays is the busy time and the cardboard and everything. Be happy to go through there and at the same, you know,
Same rate.
Same rate as what, you know, the
We
total
wanna-
rate that you have.
Maybe go till, if we can, if town administrator can work out a financial deal, maybe go till January 1st, if that's feasible. I mean, we're trying to be as beneficial to the, obviously, the residents. And I think
Absolutely, absolutely.
most of us recycle, if not all of us, so it's going to affect us as well as everybody else. And it's not something we're trying to impose on everybody else, but.
No, the last thing we want you to think is that we
No,
don't
no,
want
you
you to do it, recycle.
No, like I say, your
We wanna
response
help you out.
and your effort has been, you guys are out there every Monday, the trucks are coming in emptying, and that was a problem we had before, was they would show up when they felt like it to empty the bins. It hasn't really been a problem with you. Our problem has been more that all of a sudden the bins are full after you've already emptied them on a Monday, so it becomes an issue then, but up until then, it hasn't been so.
Yeah, I think you've been very reasonable
Yeah, no, I-
in trying to do the best you can for the town, and we appreciate it.
I mean, I'm willing to make a motion that if, to have this gentleman, JRM, sit down with the town administrator, see if we can work out a financial deal till up to January 1st, just to keep it going as long as we can. That'll get people through the Christmas season.
Right, any seconds?
And, you know, maybe if we can work out something with a cardboard or something, but I'm not sure where we can even put it to. That's our problem, is a secure area is just, we really don't have
No, I
anything
know.
available.
I don't see it going
Mr.
beyond the
Chairman,
first.
Would there be bins that have locks on them? Do you have, is that
We could-
something?
We could customize it to make it so that we could figure something out. I mean, putting, right now you have the sliding doors on them.
Right.
We could technically block all those off and just put, like the gentleman said, you know, a couple slots in there for broken down cardboard. And we could put that out in, you know, a spot where it's best for the town. It's-
Well, maybe
Well, that's the
if we
problem.
continue this for another 2 weeks, to give you time to
No, absolutely.
talk with Debbie or the chairman or whoever, you know, and see if we can work out something to at least extend it for a period longer,
Okay.
or work out some longer. I just think that if we're gonna get into, you know, we wanna be fair to you. You're in business to make money, so we're not trying to beat you down, but at the same time, you know, if we're gonna end up with $45,000 or $50,000 a year, that's gonna put a crimp in the budget.
So you want to withdraw your motion? Is that what you're saying?
Well, you know, my motion would be to continue this for 2 weeks. Let the town administrator and JRM discuss the issue and the financing, and then in 2 weeks, we'll come back, and if we can work a deal till later, I think ultimately it's gonna close anyway, but at least it'll extend it through the holidays. That might be beneficial to everybody involved.
Okay.
Second that.
Because the wintertime's the toughest time over there too. The ice and snow builds up.
Yeah, no, it's
I've gone over there in the wintertime, and literally you take your life in your hands because they can't plow it right. And, you know, if you get us, like last winter, there was a couple of periods there when it was bad. I mean, we're lucky we don't have somebody fall over there and sue us that's how bad it is. It's just, you know, it's a horrible location. I mean, it's the best. It's served its purpose for the last 20 years or whatever, but it's run its course, and we need to make some changes. And, you know, if we get the Didax building ultimately downtown, we can come up with a more secure area. But that's going to be somewhat down the road. It's not going to happen anytime real soon. So we're hoping it will happen, and that'll help the town out a lot. We're hurting for space.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to continue this for another 2 weeks. All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All's opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks for coming in. I appreciate everything you're doing to try and help us out.
We'll start the public comment period, although we've already had a lot of public comment. It'll end at 7:15, it'll be 5 minutes. Okay, we now have a 7 o'clock appointment with Spencer Cocker
Yes.
of Old Planter of Cape Ann, Inc., to discuss a letter of non-opposition for a registered marijuana dispensary and host agreement at 300 Newburyport Turnpike. We met with Mr. Cocker during the July 30th meeting to discuss his business plans. During this meeting, the board voted to issue a letter of support for Old Planters of Cape Ann, Inc. The board needs to vote to authorize me to sign the letter. Police Chief Scott Dumas has reviewed their security plan and is satisfied with the plan. Also, Town Planner Kirk Baker has met with Mr. Cocker and reviewed the special permitting and site plan approval process. Town Council Tom Mullen has also completed his review of the host agreement, and they accepted Tom's changes. Old Planters accepted Tom's suggested changes. The agreement is ready to be signed by the Board of Selectmen and Mr. Cocker. The board needs to vote to sign the agreement. Mr. Cocker will also sign it tonight. There are 2 originals in the chairman's folder. Okay, I don't know if we need any more discussion of this. I think it's ready to go.
Yours is the one going up to 3, the basement. You're not selling marijuana there.
No, we're
You're
basically.
just distributing it to other,
No, we're doing, at the 300, we're have a medical dispensary and a retail location up now.
You're thinking of
Okay.
another.
Can I speak to that?
You could it's public comment period, so yes, you
All
can.
right. I'm Cynthia Hazelton. I live on Bennett Hill, but I also have a small business at 300 Newburyport Turnpike. And I think you received a copy from Northeast Counseling Associates
did.
about our opposition
Right.
to what's happening. We have a whole list of reasons, but I think the most important one is that, in our estimation, it violates the buffer rule, which is that they're not supposed to operate no dispensary within 500 feet of where children congregate in a scheduled manner, which is exactly what we do. We see children, adolescents, and families for therapy every week, every day, in a scheduled manner. And we're really concerned that they would be allowed to go in. They're literally right next to us
How would they go in?
in the building. They have to walk past you to get to us.
Well, if it violates the state buffer rule, that's what you're
Right,
referring
which they
to.
can't be
So,
within 500 feet.
If it does violate the state rule, then they shouldn't get approval from the state.
Correct.
So, do you want to address that, or?
Basically, the congregation means church, it means not a single person going in at a time anywhere, because otherwise, any business we had children going into, you wouldn't be able to.
We had a copy of the rule.
Yeah, if I could speak.
Sure.
John Hazelton with at Bennett Hill Road as well. So this is the guidance that's put forth for municipalities regarding the use of medical marijuana, and it describes that buffer zone. An RMD shall comply with all local requirements regarding siting, provided, however, that if no local requirements exist, an RMD shall not be sited within a radius of 500 feet of a school, daycare center, or any facility in which children commonly congregate. And that goes on to define, the department interprets a quote-unquote facility in which children commonly congregate to include facilities in which children are gathered for a particular purpose in a structured and scheduled manner. And I think that's what you're describing as the,
Right.
the
So,
counseling center.
The definition of gathered is multiple people at the same time.
Mm.
So again, according to the attorneys that we spoke with from the state and the state's attorney, that is not accurate. But it would be up to your point, up to the state to issue it or not. But the planning board has reviewed it, the police department has reviewed it, and if this business is scheduled and set up that way, then there's certainly, I don't know what
My
to say.
understanding is that the planning board hasn't signed off on it.
No, they haven't, and they have to, he has to obtain a special
Yeah,
permit
so
from
you
the
still have
planning
an
board.
opportunity to make that case.
The planning board will have to conduct a public hearing at which you would be able to make these same arguments. And it's the planning board rather than this board, I think, who's really charged with the responsibility of determining, number one, whether you're in violation of the town, because we have our own less restrictive buffer zone than the state does, but also whether it's an appropriate use, whether marijuana facility is an appropriate use for this locale, given that the existence of your business establishment. So you can make all those arguments before them, and they're going to have to make a determination on that. It's really not for us to decide that, I don't believe.
Okay, so you just decide, I don't understand the difference.
Well, we work out the the host agreement, which really assumes that they're going to get a special permit from the planning board. It doesn't in any way dictate that they will get a special permit, and he understands that.
Absolutely correct.
So we work out the host agreement, which determines the terms of the relationship between the town and the facility, not whether it's appropriate for them to be located in a particular area. That's for the planning board to decide.
And Mr. Chairman, the questions and concerns we've had in the past with these types of facilities is one of them has an ice cream place fairly close. So the argument was that, well, children go to the ice cream place. And somebody else at one of the meetings we had upstairs says, well, you know, we have kids going into the restaurant. So if there's a restaurant there and, you know, kids come in there, then they shouldn't. I take it your business, from what I read the letter, is a counseling business. So kids come with parents, they're supervised, they're not running around or unsupervised outside anyway, whatever you do inside.
Kids are often dropped off and or picked up, and again, it's not just me, there's several other therapists, so it's more than one child at a time. There are groups of children that can wait outside to be picked up, and, I mean, we have, as you read in the letter, there's other reasons as well, that even if they were supervised, it's not really a safe environment for kids to have therapy.
Well, I mean, I guess, and I'm not especially in favor of dispensing marijuana, but I think when the state law talks about schools and churches, you're talking about large groups, and if there's a pediatrician has a doctor's office in a building, I don't. To me, in my mind, that doesn't cover it. It's on top of that is you heard from, and you're going to have, I'm sure, the same issue as the previous person that was in here. Everything is basically secured, locked up.
There's no messing around.
There's
Yeah.
probably, I know the one in Georgetown,
Security in there.
the one in Georgetown, you wouldn't even know what it is unless you knew the name of the company. You'd have no idea that it's.
All that has to be approved by the town.
But
Signage.
doesn't the state also have strict limits on signage and advertising? So you're not going to have like
you think about,
this
like
flashing
any of
neon
the liquor
sign.
stores in town.
Yeah, it's not like a liquor store.
Yeah, there's
Well,
no
but
pictures
that's-
of bulls and kids playing and, any of that stuff.
Right.
It can't be done. The rules are very, very strict in the state, which is one of the great things about it. It's the most regulated cannabis community in this country. Nobody else has the rules the state of Massachusetts has. I've checked them all out. So it's a very fair and good.
Yeah, you're free to, that's the forum that I think you should be focusing this on. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so can I have a motion to authorize me to sign the host community agreement?
I'll give you the motion.
I'll second.
Been first and second, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Oh, for us to sign it.
Mr. Chairman, we'll need a motion to sign the letter as well.
Oh, okay.
You're the only secretary.
Oh, okay.
I'll give you the motion to sign the
Second.
letter.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in.
Larry's looking for, make a comment.
Larry?
Yes,
I'm sorry, public comment is over. No, I'm kidding.
then I'll leave. Just one quick thing to consider, and I'm sure Larry will go along with this, is 410 Central Street has a secure entry and cameras that one of the containers can fit behind the fence there, so.
You're talking about recycling,
401.
right?
Yes, or one. Something to consider.
Yeah, well, I mean, the next 2 weeks, I think we'll try to take a look and see if we can come up with something.
There I was thinking about the police station and the fire station, and you jumped on me.
Just yours on that one.
You got a big yard there, Bernie, right?
I haven't thought about it.
Good charge.
No,
Thank you.
can't charge it.
Joe?
Yep.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay?
I'm sure I'll get a copy of some.
Yep.
Thank you very much for all the
You
consideration.
have to sign it.
Thank you.
Good luck.
You sign the letter,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Right there.
This one too. All right, and none of these mine, these both stay here.
Yeah,
They'll stay there,
that's
and I'll
fine.
make copies.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very
Right.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep,
Have a good
thanks for
day.
coming in.
Okay. Okay, we had a 7:15 appointment with Larry Berger of Pink & Company to discuss purchasing items for the Pine Grove School out of the contingency line and project update. Evening, Larry.
Good evening.
The board met with Larry Berger on July 30th to discuss a list of items that he was seeking approval to purchase as part of an FF&E package. The board had concern over some of the types of items that were being included in the submittal, such as staplers and pencil sharpeners. The funding for these items is coming from the contingency line. The board asked Larry to review and reduce the list and resubmit it to the Board of Selectmen for review. Attaches a list Mr. Berger submitted on July 30th. No updated list was sent. Do you have an updated list? Oh, okay.
Updated list of everything. So we went through all 5 phases and itemized them out. So you'll see 4 columns where there used to be 2. 1 column for the project. Those would be the green columns, and then the orange columns represent items that were removed from the project costs and put into the district columns.
Okay, yeah, so Joe and I met with 3 of you last week.
Yes, last Thursday, yep.
And we went through the items, and as a result of that meeting, I think it was agreed that a bunch of things would be removed from the list.
Yep.
And I would characterize those things as the most objectionable to the town, the most objectionable items that were on the list. And that would include things such as pencil sharpeners, scotch tape dispensers, there was a laminator, various things of that nature that were considered supplies. And it looks like, as a result of those exclusions, we've reduced the total cost of the town by about over a little over 13,000. Is that correct?
That's accurate.
Yeah. So now, and we didn't really make a commitment on the other items because we were recognizing that, and we gave our thoughts, but we're recognizing that it's a determination for the board to make and not for just Joe and I. But so now you're seeking the town to fund the purchase of $31,307 in equipment, correct?
For phase
Correct.
1.
For phase 1 and 2, and then later on for phase 3 to 5, you'll be looking for $20,000.
A little over 20,000.
Right.
And if I could, these are, as it pertains to those 2 columns, these are real numbers. These are based on bids that we've received back from the vendors.
Right.
So these are hard numbers.
Oh, okay, good.
Where last week we were.
And just so I think the board needs to be cognizant of the fact that there will be no state reimbursement for these amounts. And these amounts will come out of our contingency, correct?
Correct.
Right. So, I think, it's for the board to, I think the thing that the board needs to decide is what about these other items? Should the town be paying for those? So we're still talking about $31,000. There was one, and I'll try to go through the various items and summarize them.
Before you do that, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, I got a couple of questions. Yeah, this money is coming out of the building contingency fund.
Correct.
Part of the
And normally, the contingency fund is used to fund unexpected building expenses. For instance, we ran into termites
Correct.
for 300 and something thousand. That comes out of the contingency.
Correct. But if I could just interject, when
Sure.
we were formulating the overall budget for the project, and we looked at the technology and the FF&E, we recognized at working group as well as the school building committee that we would have a shortfall for these equipment items, and that as the bids continue to be generated for, at least in the case of technology, we can't put this in the technology line item if we underspend technology because it's not technology. But in the FF&E portion, which these items are an acceptable expenditure, we hope that we would be able to, in part, fund some of this. It looks like that budget will come in at its forecasted amount, which is the $1,200 per pupil for the $499,000. So the only logical place to take this would be out of the construction contingency.
Well, I guess my concern is, and as you people are the construction people, you know, we're building a new police and fire station, all new construction. Repairs or reconstruction of an existing building that's been there for 50 years or more is going to run, I would think, you're only in the first phase, the first 2 months. You've already run into the termite situation. I don't know, maybe you can give us some indication of other areas that you might have run into that you weren't expecting. I'm just concerned that I don't object so much to buying this stuff at the end of the project if there's money available, but I'm very leery about taking money out of the contingency fund, which is really meant for the building. Our concern, or my concern as a board member, is that we want the building built. And if we need some of these other things, I can understand that, and at the end of the project, if there's some underspent money in areas that we can fill in, that's fine, but I'm very reluctant to start taking money for these kinds of items out of the contingency fund when we still got better than two-thirds of the project to go, without having any idea what issues we're going to run into. We got to tear apart roofs, we got walls, we got, all kinds of heating and ventilation. I mean, there's a lot of major construction items that are going to be there that, we're hoping that the architects and everybody accounted for all this stuff, but in a project like this, where you're dealing with reconstructing an old building, there isn't, anybody I talk to anyway says you got to expect that there's going to be some major problems. Unlike a new building, and even in a new building, we're running into some odds and ends of things, but they're relatively small. And to start off with the termite issue right off the bat, we're behind the 8 ball. So that's my only concern, Mr. Chairman, is that I'm very leery to be spending contingency money at this point for any of these kinds of items that people are watching, and we understand some of this stuff, but at the end, there's money. If there's no money, then we won't get it. But I don't want to get down to 3/4 of the way through the project and discover that, wait a minute, now we don't have enough money, and we spent $30,000-$40,000 here and something else over there, and it seems like a relatively small amount in a $39 million project, but boy, the dollars mount up quick when you start adding these things
just
on.
Just for perspective, the contingency fund is
It's $1,437,000 for the owners.
is that after the termites? Or?
No, that was the starting number.
Right. So we're down to what, $1.1 million?
$1.1 million, correct.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
When we started this project, we were talking about the infrastructure of the building. And many people came in and they spoke and they talked about the wiring of the school and the dangers of to the children. And that sold us to go that route. To look at the ventilation system, the infrastructure of the building. And as somebody put it, and I can't remember who, but they said if you take the school and you turn it upside down, you shake it, all the papers and the pencils and the erasers and the pencil sharpeners, they all fall out, and then what you're left with is the infrastructure. And that's what we were interested in, going after the infrastructure and fixing this up. And I said it, I think you all remember when we started the safety building, I said, that's not going to be a monument to the architect. This is going to be a functional building. And I feel the same way about the school. It's a functional building for the students, the pipes, the wiring, everything is, the walls, so it the children have a place to learn. And now we've added all this contingency, and I think if I was the taxpayer and I'm sitting there watching this, what? What's going on? I don't understand this. And frankly, I don't either.
Well, I can certainly understand both of your concerns. I mean, they're valid arguments, there's no question about that. However, maybe we need to be a little more flexible than that, and because, the part of this money is for equipment to fully equip the kitchen.
Correct. It supports a lot of the, actually most of, set aside what people are classifying as supplies. The list of items for the cafeteria helps support all the new equipment, and it is more cost effective to buy it this way than to put it in with the contractors, deliverable to the
And just
to the project.
Again, to put things in perspective, the town's already at great expense bought all the stoves and refrigerators and freezers for the kitchen.
Correct. Yeah,
that amount of money clearly vastly outweighs what we're talking about here. This is just to finish the job, have a fully staffed kitchen. And while I can certainly understand the argument that the town should be paying for baking sheets or things of that nature, on the other hand, we want to have the kitchen up and running October 1. I think that's what we're shooting for. So to me, I think I can be a little more flexible personally than the arguments that you're making. And I understand them 100%, so don't get me wrong.
My own feeling is, and I wasn't at last week's the last meeting, but I did watch you guys on TV, which was nice. I wasn't able to make the meeting, but there's some things that the kitchen, I really have no problem, and I don't know what, looking at the list you come up with here for kitchen stuff versus other stuff. To me, if they need pots and pans, and I mean, the kitchen dates back to the original school building.
Right.
I mean, a lot of that stuff, I'm sure, is in terrible condition. It may be usable, but it's not going to fit into the new ovens.
They also kept, a lot of the things that they were using before. They have kept, but there's a new serving line, and the pans that go into that serving line, were different.
Yeah, so I have no real objection to the kitchen stuff. I guess I'm looking at, if you look on the big page here, the second page, you look at the custodial 44-gallon plastic trash bucket.
I think that's out, right?
Wheels, did you take that out? 'Cause I mean, a lot of that stuff I would think would be saved from the school as it currently is.
Yeah.
They weren't thrown out or disposed of, they should be available.
The larger items on that phase 1, phase 2 column are the kitchen and the custodial stuff, and some of the custodial stuff is obviously to clean and take care of the new finishes that we're putting in the school.
The floor polisher.
Right, the flooring is a different flooring than we previously had, so it takes a different level of care and different machines and different
All right,
pads.
so you're looking for 31,000 now, is that what I?
31,307.
Yes.
And then phase 1 and 2, you're looking for another 8,000?
No, so that's
that
the
is phase
column.
1.
That's phase 1 and 2.
That's what we're cutting out.
That's
Right,
what's
so
being,
the 151 came out, so come like the new year, we'll be looking at phases 3 and 5, 3 through 5.
Okay.
There'd be another 20 grand for the other spaces. And those
So-
are more classroom based.
Yeah, let me
The
just-
STEAM room, which is kind of a new
Well,
program.
Mr. Chairman, I can go along, just to speed this along a little bit, I understand. And school's gonna open in 2 weeks. As it is, it's gonna be difficult because of the lack of cafeteria availability, but, I can eat the 31,000, I guess. Because it's important for the cafeteria stuff, it's important that the principal have the ability to make sure that what she's planned on is available in 2 weeks. I mean, I'm sure time is getting close here. The next 2 phases, I think we need to have a serious discussion on, depending on what those things are. But, like I say, my main concern is, and I think we need to seriously track the contingency money, because I'm concerned that start eating into the contingency for stuff like this. This is only 20,000, which, yeah, only 20,000 for a homeowner, that's a lot of money for a $39 billion project, it's not, but believe me,
All the money's important.
those things add up real quick when you start doing this, and, you know, at this point, we're kind of under the gun, and,
We'll have a better
If I-
picture of that contingency too when it might come the
I
new
just want to
year.
emphasize
Yeah.
that when you come in for the next phases, you know, and I'm only speaking for myself, I may not be quite so lenient in terms of
We'll have a
depending on
better
what
idea
you're
what
buying.
that contingency line item looks like.
But I mean, yeah.
I'd like to make the point, though. I understand where you're coming from, and I understand where Bob Snow is coming from, but the three items under the health budget for the nurse's office, I really think that those items should be included.
Is that in this?
No.
Oh, yeah, it actually,
No, that's the flag.
It's in,
and
so if you look at the first three items on that second sheet, I think you have a hearing, the audio meter, the hearing, the audio, and the vision.
If you look at the first line in the green, they're taking out $4,764.85.
Oh, I see.
That is the health, putting in the equipment for the nurse's office. I would like to have that reconsidered.
yeah, I respect your opinion, Joe, just as I respect Bob and Dave's opinion. But I think, I was actually going to address these items. I didn't realize they had been taken out. To me, these items have nothing to do with the renovation. Presumably, if the renovation had never happened, the school district would still need these things, and they would, in that case, they would be, that would be their responsibility to provide those, not ours. So I view those items as totally separate from what we're doing here, and I think they're really if they have a need for this equipment, it's really the school district's responsibility for those three items. So I would actually disagree with you, Joe, and say that those things should be kept out.
Again, I go back to the infrastructure. You know,
Yeah.
is it part of the infrastructure of the building? You know, and
These definitely are, yeah.
the-
No
yeah.
doubt about it.
And again, we have to respect the taxpayer who's sitting home watching this. And they would question that. Because again, they go back to the beginning. When we first came in here and started to look at this project, we started, you know, with them and started talking about the wiring and talking about the pipes and the, you know, we went for so some of the selectmen took a walk through the building and looked at the facilities and, you know, the roof and everything, and that's the infrastructure.
Well, so Dave, do you want to make a motion to allow the 31,000?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to allow the 307.61.
Can I?
Bernie?
I just want to check that my understanding is correct, that the larger items have been put out to bid, like the floor buffer, which as a package comes to about $10,000, that's essentially, we're following state procedures for bidding that out.
It's actually purchased off of state contracts, so you're actually getting a discounted price, even better than what you would get if you were to price it from independent vendors.
So that's off the state list, right?
All of this equipment is off the state.
Which means you don't have to go
You're
to
not
the bid.
getting, you know, you don't have to compete because the price is going to be the same regardless of who you get it from. It's just they have other contingencies that, you know, change one company's number over the other, but the price is kind of set by the state.
Right.
And it's already, the discounts are already built in.
And that buffer, I mean, I know, I have a hard time with a wet mop. But that buffer, essentially, the new surface actually requires a new machine, or does it require new pads and new solutions?
It's new pads, it's a different pad, it's probably also different solutions, because you don't have the waxes anymore that you're going to have on the VCTs. But you will have, but our understanding is the one that they have now is near its end of life, the end of its life.
So again, I'm reluctant to kind of do the penny pinching. I'm more concerned with the principle, which is shape the building principle, which is that if that machine is near the end of its life, then it's Triton Regional School District go out to bid, they find out, and it comes out of the regular school budget, capital budget. I mean, this is the kind of aftermath of some unpleasant budgeting discussions before. But it's still reality. It's still, so, you know, I'm just one person here, so I would like to see as much reuse of existing equipment as possible, rather than the presumption that a new building requires new equipment. It's a technical decision. We should still with the technical decisions. If it's a new surface and you actually need a new piece of equipment, then you don't.
When we're making decisions here, I think, you know, to me, the floor buffer, yeah, maybe it isn't part of the building, but it's, if we're putting up new floors, we need a piece of equipment. If the school system decides they're not gonna, they don't have money for a buffer till next fiscal year, then we go a year without proper equipment to maintain the floors. Who's the loser? We are. So, I mean, some of the bigger stuff here, and I understand what Cliff is talking about in terms of these three nursing items, and I understand from what Joe's saying, but those are things that they can be, you know, $874, you know, $268 for a wheelchair. Some of those things, you might even be able to get some donations or whatever, collect some money for some of those things. But the floor buffer is, to me, personally, is an item that we need to maintain those. I want to see the floors maintained from day one.
Right.
If we don't have the proper equipment to do that, then we're just literally throwing our money away, because it's, God knows how long before I'm sure the school system doesn't have a lot of money to buy a floor buffer. If they did, they probably would have bought one for us already. So, you know, it's a tough, we're making some tough choices here.
Yeah,
and
right.
You know, I don't know what the nurse did before. Did she have these three items or no?
I believe she does, but they're very, very old and outdated.
Okay, so I mean, to me, that, okay, if they're old, I'm sorry, but if we're looking at nickels and dimes here, that the floor buffer's in and those three machines are out, and, you know, if later on we need something, we look at it at that time, but just to try and keep the contingency spending down, I would agree that leave those out, but leave the floor buffer in.
Well, Brad, do you still want to say?
I want to just echo Dave's point, and the other thing that this also...
Could you just say who you are for the...
Brad Doran Whittier.
Architect for the project.
I'd just like to echo Dave's points, and also point out that with respect to the flooring and the maintenance equipment in general, right, it's a significant investment that the town's made. It's also important to be able to maintain, okay, your warranties. And if you're not providing the proper level of maintenance to this because you don't, you know, have, you know, the ability to do that, I think that that's a potential thing that you don't want to have to be facing in a finger-pointing situation a year down the road. Your point is still made that, you know, maybe it takes a year for the district to do it. Maybe the district does it, maybe the district doesn't do it, who knows? But ultimately, in order to be able to maintain your warranties, you want to be able to follow manufacturer's procedures and be able to implement that maintenance program.
And my other point, Mr. Chairman, is, you know, if we get to the end of the project and we've got some contingency money that we can spend, then, you know, take a look at some of these items that we're leaving out and say, okay, fine. I mean, the nurse can maybe do most of the year with the stuff she's got, but at the end of the year, if it's worthwhile to replace those items out of the contingency money, if it's available, then we can do that. Right now, like I say, I'm willing to go along, kind of blanket the 31,000 because we got 2 weeks.
Right.
I'm sure it's tight now in terms of getting this stuff in and getting it done, so I certainly don't want to hold up the kids getting in there and having a safe structure as possible. So that, you know, I'll go along with that. With the next two sets might be a little more, I might be a little less giving on it, but, and like I say, at the end, I'm just concerned that, you know, we got a lot of building to do over there, a lot of walls to break down and a lot of things to do, and I'm just very concerned that we don't run short on that contingency money, because we may need every penny of it ultimately, without knowing. It's an old building and it's in tough shape. You get up into the roof and into the bathrooms for plumbing and, you know, all these other things. God only knows what we're going to run into. We have no idea the stuff is so old in there.
How much of the contingency fund is left?
little over a million.
$1.1 million.
Sounds like a lot, but, you know,
Oh, no.
it isn't a lot when you get into this stuff.
We're also into the oldest part of the building right now.
Right, yeah, but still.
No, I'm not going to discount it, and I, you know, I get the calls, come look at it, you know, on
To me, a sensible
on
compromise
a
is give
daily
you the
basis.
31,000 for the,
So-
get the kitchen going, get the buffer, get the needed custodial stuff, and some of the other stuff is gonna have to be used for a while. You know, we get into things like waste baskets and stuff like that, we gotta
Anybody who's
reuse.
renovated a house knows what
Yeah.
happens when you open up a wall. Surprise.
You know, one of the things, after the discussion last week at the building committee meeting for the police and fire, we made it very clear to the architect and the contractor that, you know, we don't wanna see any, we use the police department has stored most of their furniture, the same furniture is going back in. You know, we're gonna have to buy some additional because there's some additional space. Firehouse is a little bit different. The firehouse is brand new and it's coming from a wreck of a building. We're gonna have to replace most everything there, but, you know,
In those
other words,
cases,
these little things,
in those cases, the town is responsible for
Yeah, and
everything.
it's-
Here you got this distinction between the district
Yeah.
and the town. So
but I mean, even then, we're gonna try and reuse everything we can reuse. We'll, you know, if they need a new desk and the chief wants a desk and give the sergeant the old desk, that's fine, but we're not gonna get the sergeant and the chief a new desk, you know what I mean? Those kind of issues, so, you know, it's a matter of, you know, they're tough decisions, and we hate to sit here and be the ogres, but, man, these people have given us a lot of money to be responsible for, and I think we have to really do due diligence to make sure that every nickel is spent as well as it can be, so.
Dave, they pay us to be ogres.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
but I mean, I'll make the motion for the 31,000
Any-
initial.
Any seconds?
Second.
Okay, it's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay. Okay, the motion passes.
Okay.
Any update you want to give?
I'll gladly give you an update. The
Easy part.
remembering it all is the harder part, though. Exterior-wise, we're preparing to return asphalt to the site this week.
Yeah, great.
The sub, it's being brought up, sub-base rolled. The grader is on, confirming final grades. And right now, maybe weather dependent, but they're looking to pave on Wednesday, and they'll pave the entire front of the site, including the loop road in the back, which everyone refers to as the bus loop, which won't go into use immediately because the second vestibule, the bus loop vestibule, still needs to be done, but the road will be in. Site will be much cleaner because of it. Interior-wise, they've started finishes in the admin wing. Paint colors are going on the walls. Restrooms are being tiled in the gang bathrooms. They actually started hanging fixtures today. Ceiling grid is going in, along with the tile and the finished sprinkler heads, lighting. They're pulling back and terminating electrical feeds to a variety of spaces. The infrastructure, the boilers are getting finalized for hookup. Some pumps came in this morning, or actually this afternoon at 1. They're already hooked up except for electrical. That'll happen tomorrow. Everything is marching forward to the return of the students on the 4th. Flooring will, they started flooring prep over the weekend on Saturday, and that will go in. It'll be one of the last things that goes in just to maintain the integrity of the floor with everybody working on it. Ceilings and the entryway vestibule is being installed, and call it the first 50 feet, that main corridor that was a little wider, but that finish work is proceeding also. And in the AP room, the last step in shoring that space is being worked on right now. They're stringing cables between the columns to bring it back into tension so that they can start to remove the lower portion of the
Is that all
impact.
going according to what you figured? Has there been any hitches that you've run into?
No, I mean, it's taken time. It's taken a little more time than we would have liked, but, you know, all the pieces are being bolted in and erected per the drawings, and this last piece of doing the cables is pretty intensive. I think they got a pair up today, you know, between, but and then also the kitchen continues to progress. They're you know, they're working on the restroom in there, the office, energizing and bringing I shouldn't say energizing, but bringing the circuits to the panel. They've run all the circuits, or just about all the circuits, in anticipation of the equipment. You can look down the wall and you can see where the sinks are and where the cook line is. The cooler boxes are ready to be energized next week, if we wanted to energize them.
Would it be possible, I've stayed away.
Anytime you want to.
Possible maybe the last, well, I don't want to have, you know, you don't want to have people running over there all different times, but maybe the last week before school starts, if we could set up a time.
Sure.
And have the board take a walk through, maybe even
Yep.
a couple of finance committee members or something, you know, we don't need a huge tour, but mainly is looking around because.
There was a walkthrough a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And
there was
a lot of people from the committee went.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of it. Joe mentioned it to me, but I
Joe and I
was.
went
We
through.
do a walkthrough after the construction meetings on Friday mornings.
All right, well, if we could set something up, I would love to go through it
and,
because,
and you know, you don't even really need, you know, just
because then if
say you're
parents
coming
got,
down and
if
Larry's
parents
there all the
got,
time.
Yeah,
parents got complaints or something, at least we're aware of, you know, kind of in general, and I'm not gonna know all the details, but make it easier for you if we all come at the same time.
Sure.
Yeah, let us know and set up a time. And
But yeah, anytime you want to walk through, we'll
Maybe
gladly
right
give you the
before
next.
school starts would be a good time.
Yep.
maybe that
The
last.
Friday before Labor Day.
Last meeting before Labor Day or something would be
That's
fine.
fine.
If, you know, for those that, obviously, if somebody wants to go another time, we can, but I just, you know, make it easy for you guys and
Okay.
so on. So, yeah, that would be good.
Great, okay.
Thank you.
All right, well, thanks for coming
Thank
in.
you. Coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Larry?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that, you know, in reviewing some of these items, like the pencil sharpeners and the waste basket, and all these small things, you know, like in phase one, they would buy one pencil sharpener. In phase two, they'd buy an additional 3 of the same type of pencil sharpeners. And it seems like those things, one, can be postponed and grouped together so that we're buying, we'll say, the total for the 5 phases is 15. You buy them all at once, maybe in phase 4. And number 2 is that you look at it, and the cost of the pencil sharpener is $4.99. However, and when I was in the private practice, we did a study on how much it costs to buy an item. And it was like at least $100 to research the item, write the PO, follow it through, get it and everything else. So the true cost of the whole thing might be $105 over 20 years with the bond at 2.5% interest. You do the math on that, and that's the true cost of that darn pencil sharpener.
Right.
It's not $4.99.
Right.
And that's one thing that we have to continue to remember is that the cost might look small,
Right.
but it's not.
Yeah, no, I take your point, but just point out that we are not paying for the pencil sharpeners, but.
Right.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Right. Yeah.
I would like to make a point, because of my vote, that my issue was strictly with the 3 items for the nurse's office.
we
and no other.
Yeah, that's understood.
I was firmly agreed with Cliff and I when we sat down and went through the list that we were cutting out all of the pencil sharpeners and the buckets and everything else.
Okay, yeah, we appreciate that. Okay, we have a 7:45 PM appointment with Steve Morris.
Excuse me?
Oh, I'm mixed up.
One before.
Wait, sorry, I'm sorry, yeah. I'm sorry. We have a 7:30 appointment.
Thought you were getting cut out, didn't you?
Excuse me.
Almost.
With Kate Crowther from Verdant Medical to discuss plans to open a registered medical marijuana dispensary and cultivation facility at 124 Newburyport Turnpike, and to request a letter of non-opposition/support. They're planning, Verdant Medical is planning to purchase 124 Newburyport Turnpike for the purpose of operating a medical marijuana facility and cultivation facility. Kate Crowther of Verdant has met with both the fire chief and the police chief, and Kirk Baker, the town planner. Chief Dumas has informed me that he is satisfied with their plan. Kirk says that Verdant is ready to meet with the Board of Selectmen to discuss the letter of non-opposition and the host agreement. Verdant has filed a site plan application and special permit application with the planning board. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can you point out what it is, a sign-in sheet circulating? We're not sure if people can.
Does anyone have it? Okay, could you circulate that?
Everybody signed in?
Okay, Kate Crowther?
Can you just confirm for us where exactly what lot you're looking at?
Absolutely, we are looking at 124 Newbury.
Yeah, I realize that, but I mean, in relation
Is that
to...
across from Swenson and Granite
I believe
on
so.
Route 1? I
It
think
is
it-
right next to, on the left is the ice cream store.
Right.
And on the right
Yeah.
is a larger strip mall.
Right across from the Granite place.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I just want to make sure that...
And just a brief clarification, my name is Becca Rutenberg. I'm here with Verdant Medical this evening. On my left is Ann Nagel, and on my right is Tito Jackson. And Kate Crowther actually is with us right here, as well as our Director of Security, Brad Biggs from SHG Security. And certainly appreciate the opportunity to speak before you this evening and request a letter of non-opposition for this site. And I know we've given you a wealth of materials. So I will be kind of loosely going off of this PowerPoint right here, but knowing that you have a bit of a robust agenda this evening, I'll try to be quick. But feel free to stop me with any questions, concerns. So Verdant Medical is a marijuana establishment that seeks to provide high-quality cannabis to patients and customers in Massachusetts. And it's a little bit different, I would say, than a typical cannabis operator. It is led by a team of lifelong public servants. Tito Jackson is a former Boston City Councilor.
I knew the name sounded familiar.
I look skinnier in person.
And also served in the administration of Governor Paul Patrick. And in a former life was actually worked in healthcare sales. So is familiar with the regulated market. And then Ann Nagel actually worked for the city of Cambridge for quite some time and is an attorney with specializing in regulated industries, namely campaign compliance and oil and gas. So definitely a team that is familiar with a regulated product and also has a deep-rooted commitment to enriching the communities of which they are a part and an understanding of kind of the nuances of being a good community partner. So just to move on a little bit. So Verdant is seeking to operate 3 marijuana establishments, both under the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Medical Use of Marijuana Program and under the Adult Use Program. So very quickly, they are applying in Boston, which makes sense, probably given Mr. Jackson's former turf. As well, they've also received a special permit in the town of Provincetown and are going to be diligently pursuing that permit to open as quickly as possible.
Do they have permission from the state or approval from the state?
Not quite yet. That is the remaining kind of point of contention there. They have received a provisional certificate of registration in Randolph, Massachusetts, and they intend to transfer the retail side of that over to Provincetown, and would intend under this license to transfer the cultivation portion to Rowley.
So that was my question, to interrupt. Sorry. In other words, you're allowed under the law 3 locations.
Correct.
So you're looking at Provincetown, obviously. Boston, you said?
Yes.
And Raleigh. So, you know, we're not looking at you going through this process and then 2 months down the road saying, oh, wait a minute, we're going to go to East Overshoe somewhere. I mean,
I've heard it's nice there.
You know what I'm saying? In other words, it's...
Absolutely.
So we've got a lot of these proposals.
Absolutely.
And I'm not sure how many are going to make it in the end because we're getting inundated with them and I don't know. We're a relatively small town, but so this is a serious...
It is certainly a serious proposal, and I would note that it's a required element of our proposal for the medical use of marijuana program, as we would intend to cite a fairly robust cultivation facility here, which I think makes it a very attractive proposal to the town,
no, definitely.
and also kind of demonstrates our commitment to this particular location. Speaking of which, I'm going to just briefly go through and just talk a little bit about the site, which is a currently vacant parcel in the midst of a commercial corridor, spanning about 11.5 acres. I will note that the site is split amongst 3 different zoning districts. So you have the retail district in the front, the business and light industrial district in the middle, and then the outlying district in the back.
Really have that dotted line.
Exactly.
That should work out well for you.
Indeed. So the dispensing portion of the property will be located in that retail district.
So that's, the dispensing is both medical and recreation?
Yes, that would be the intent.
And what size building for the cultivation are you proposing?
We are proposing 25,000 square feet with the ability to expand upwards as our operations increase.
The planning board did a site visit at the site not too long ago. There is kind of a grade that goes up the hill there. So,
Absolutely.
So it might be a little difficult to
Absolutely. And it was a concern of ours as well, but we have Hayes Engineering, which is very familiar with the site, I think has looked at this site in the past. And one of our first concerns was that grading as well, and they've developed a fairly comprehensive plan on how we would move forward that we're comfortable with. And I think this is a bit better suited, I think, than in past uses where that grading has been an issue, is my understanding.
Yeah.
Is each of your sites, Provincetown, Boston, and Raleigh, all going to be the same type of facility?
They'll all be very, very similar types of facilities. This one will be a little bit different in that it has a large cultivation facility on the back. The Raleigh dispensing portion and the Provincetown dispensing portion will be the same size. Provincetown will be split over 2 floors, whereas this we propose 1 level, which is optimal from a security standpoint. Boston, the parcel is a bit smaller, approximately 2,000 square feet, which means that we have more of an opportunity for offices out here and a bigger dispensary footprint.
So you're only growing here?
Only growing here, correct.
And that's all on one floor of the growing, right? It's just,
all on 1 floor, correct.
how high is the building going to be?
So typically we seek to do about 18 feet.
Yeah.
18 feet, so it'll be a little bit higher, give or take. I have a feeling we have some cultivation teams that love high ceilings, so perhaps a little bit higher. Depends how greedy they get. And you know, for us, this particular parcel is ideal because when we look at this business, you know, if you have the opportunity to construct a new facility, it means you can do so with all of your primary concerns for the business at the forefront. So a plan that is optimally suited for security, optimally situated for patient access, and also makes best use of the site for the existing features that are on it. So this site will be state-of-the-art security, fully accessible, and I think will really shine in that area of the community. And so we already talked a little bit about the site plan. So here you can see that split district that I was referring to with the dispensing in the front, cultivation in the middle, and then a very long kind of runway, if you will, leaning into the outlying district in the back. This site, currently we have actually 50 parking spaces on site, but as it might suggest here, there is obviously the opportunity to do ample more if we need to. Once cultivation scales up and we need to hire additional employees, would be when I would anticipate that might happen.
How many employees do you have?
Right now, we anticipate to start about 40 employees, not necessarily accounting for security personnel.
Altogether, for both?
For both, correct. Yeah. And obviously, that's a number that will kind of tweak both on the balance between the 2 facilities. Once we identify, you know, the patient and customer patterns into that facility, you know, how robustly it needs to be staffed in the front, as well as start expanding out in the back on that cultivation footprint. We were told that the existing barn on site is something that is a bit beloved to the community, so we're working on integrating it into the plans. And our civil engineer did recommend that we bring that up this evening because he knew it was a topic of concern.
So you're going to preserve that?
We're going to do our best to preserve it and make it kind of an interesting component perhaps in the back of the cultivation facility.
Okay. Where is that located on is that behind the cultivation facility?
Yeah, it's behind. And I believe it has, it's kind of, you can't really see it on the smaller version, but I believe it is noted in there. So a brief discussion, and I know there's been many facilities that have come your way, so you're fairly comfortable with the procedures inside the dispensary, as you will. I will note some, what I consider to be important features that demonstrate this commitment to security that this applicant has. First being the separate entry and exit vestibules. So one of the things our team feels very strongly about is preventing diversion and presenting the opportunity for diversion or crime to occur just by best security practices. The entire facility will have state-of-the-art security, alarms, redundant alarms, video surveillance encompassing any area that can have marijuana in it, as well as pretty severe video surveillance in areas that commonly hold marijuana, so such as the vault, as well as all entries, exits, parking lots, and any areas of interest. So in the past at other facilities, neighbors have noted they're concerned about a particular tree. You can solve that easily with one camera, which is something that this applicant is committed to do, because part of a good security plan is making sure not only that you and your employees feel secure, that the local community feels secure as well. So separate entry and exit vestibules. Prior to entering the facility, you have to actually bring a doorbell that has a video little camera on it, which essentially demonstrates that you are there with an intention to be there. So it isn't someone that's walking along a commercial partner, parcel, says, oh, what's in here, let's go look. You should be there with an intention of wanting to purchase the product and not just kind of wander inside, if you will. You'll be buzzed in by security and immediately have your identity checked by one of the security agents that'll be standing in that vestibule. It'll be an initial screening, meaning it's not going to be swiped at that moment, but we don't want you to set foot in the facility if you're age 21 years of older, there for the retail side, or 18, under the age of 18. Obviously 18 to 21-year-olds can get access to the medical use of marijuana program. You walk in, you go into the checkout area, the check-in area, and again, that's where your identification is verified again, scanned with an internal database to make sure that the form of identification is real, and that if you are a member of the state's medical use of marijuana program, that you're active, you haven't gone above your allocated medicine quantity. And they'll also ask you a little bit about the type of visit you're seeking to have. And I would classify people who are coming in into really 3 different buckets. One would be the medical patient, the first-time medical patient who's seeking a secure one-on-one consultation, is very, really would like something that respects their privacy, a long discussion about health. And for those people, we do have a secure office. You'll note that it is a little bit far away. You do have to be escorted back into the office. That is intentional, so that it is a one-on-one private consultation where it is you and a patient services representative, and that is all. Those visits are longer in duration. 2, you'll have your, one of your first times medical patients or adult use patients who are seeking to learn more about the products. That type of patient will have a very comprehensive patient education process. They'll be taken in through these lines, and they'll move to one of the interior blocks, kind of on the inside of the dispensary. So they look like product cases, and they have bulletproof glass-like product cases. There's actually no product inside them, I might add, so we're very thoroughly securing cardboard. But it's an opportunity to go through not only the type of product you're seeking to purchase, the type of effect you're looking to mitigate, but also where to safely use, consume, transport, store your medicine or the product. Patient education is huge. Upon their first time at any visit in one of Verdant's stores, all patients and customers are required to sign a community norms agreement, saying that they understand basically the essentials of being a compliant and respected community partner, so that they won't use the product on site, they won't use the product on a neighboring site. They will, wait till they get home before they open, before they utilize the product. They won't litter, loiter, congregate on the streets, basically anything that would make Verdant a bad neighbor. They sign off on that, and they indicate not only have they been educated about all of this and all of the kind of appropriate patient and customer type relationships, but also that if they are found not complying with these conditions, they will not be welcomed back into the facility. That is something that's above and beyond state law, something that most operators don't do. Annie and Tito do it because they feel very strongly that the safety of the community, and frankly that their license, is much more important than one patient's experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think we've heard that before.
Yeah, it's something very few applicants do, and that was a no-brainer for them.
And that database is updated immediately when that person enters the, and it's a statewide database?
So it's not a statewide database. It is. It would be a Verdant-specific database. It basically says if you're not willing to respect the community.
No, what I'm saying is if they come in and they've already gotten the marijuana from another location and they come to your location.
Certainly under the medical program, correct. I don't believe that the adult use program has quite caught up to that yet. I don't believe the dispensaries talk to each other. And then you'll have the third type of customer, which is someone who knows exactly what they want. They're kind of a regular repeat customer. They will be escorted immediately over to the checkout line. Their product order will be fulfilled with a tablet and taken out by a staff member from the fulfillment area through this little kind of window that you see right here. Every package they say it's they say it's child resistant. It's really adult resistant. If you've ever tried to open one of these things, very challenging.
Get them open.
And everyone, again, they're told they may not utilize it in the parking lot. They may not utilize it in their car, and so they have those packages. They exit through the secure exit vestibule. One door must close before the other door opens. We have discussed this with the fire chief. There is, in the instance of a fire, we do have the ability to discharge all the doors, in case you were wondering. A big concern to him. Taking a look at the cultivation facility, this is honestly, I will say, not my level of expertise in terms of what is actually going on in specifically on each of the individual parts here. But what I will say, it is a very robust cultivation facility. And Andy and Tito have brought on cultivation consultants who have extensive experience in Colorado and many other states that are going to be kind of guiding them through this process and ultimately leading the cultivation operations.
No solar panels on the roof?
I don't believe we've gotten there yet, but it's definitely something we would explore. I know we will want to make every effort to be energy conservant, and however, I do know solar panels sometimes can, we want to be respectful of the surrounding community, and if that's can be a flashpoint for some folks. So we want to make sure that the surrounding community feels comfortable with that. I know ground mounted is usually where you get the most challenge. But again, no members of the public will ever be accessing this facility. It is strictly cultivation personnel. It is a tiered access system, meaning that if you're, for instance, a trimmer, there's no reason that you would ever be allowed in the curing room. And it's all badged, so all of the badges, you need a badge to get in. The doors are weighted, so it's not like you keep one door open. Everything is biometrics. So it is very secure and intended to be something that can be changed remotely. For instance, if Brad is wandering around and doing something he shouldn't be, Annie is actually able to remotely from her home in Cambridge, look at her phone, see something's amiss, and actually remove all access into the facility and have a security guard go get him.
We have that in town hall.
I'll go running and look.
We'd like to.
And it's a clean room type of
Yes,
facility?
yeah, absolutely.
That you can't get because we've had the report from the Georgetown facility that they closed it down.
Oh, it'll absolutely be clean room to the type. So if you're in one, you go in, you put on a suit to start with, and you go in, you're hit with multiple types of pressurizing air before you can actually even access the facility. No cell phones allowed for privacy stuff. Everyone's wearing glasses because of the lights. It is intended to be state of the art. And we do have quite a few notes about nuisance prevention security protocol. I suspect these are all things you're familiar with, though if you have any questions, Brad is here from our team, as well as Annie and Tito, who are well equipped to answer any questions about nuisance prevention and security. I'd like to kind of end with our commitment to the community. We intend to be long-time partners to this community. It would not be a quick flash in the pan in terms of a quick proposal and you'll never see us again. Knowing Annie and knowing Tito and their backgrounds, they will be active participants in the community. They'll join local Chamber of Commerce. They'll participate in philanthropic and civic events, and really seek to become true integral members of the community. To start, they'll have 40 new full-time and part-time. There's some trimming positions that are part-time, but mostly full-time, well-paying year-round jobs. Workforce training and financial literacy programs for all staff, with the ability that you should be able to start at the bottom level and work your way up. Everyone should have an ongoing education. A robust community outreach program to ensure that all of the neighbors in the community hear from the proposal directly from us, not from something they read in the newspaper, and not from, well, maybe at this point something they read in the newspaper, but not, when they're noticed for a special permit meeting, something like that. But really the opportunity to weigh in, express their concerns so that we can adjust the proposal. That's what the community outreach is for. And I think it'll really help to enliven, local ancillary retail and service businesses as well. People come to the area, including workers, who will want to stop and get some ice cream, go to lunch somewhere, go buy something. But we appreciate the opportunity to speak before you this evening. Certainly respectfully request a letter of non-opposition or support if you're willing to do so, and the opportunity to engage in a conversation about host community agreement. And would love to answer any questions you might have.
You haven't mentioned the local impact fee.
Absolutely. So we would certainly be willing to sign host community agreement to the fullest extent allowed by law.
3%?
Yep.
Now, is that for both the cultivation facility and the dispensary?
So my understanding is typically, and I wish our local council was here at this moment, absolutely for the dispensary, full 3%. Candidly, I'm not entirely sure how most cultivation facilities work, but we would seek to make sure that you are not left behind. It would be an equitable full payment. I'm not quite sure exactly how it works because
could
of
you
it.
research that?
Absolutely, we'll do. And you'll see that, and I know we were, a next step would be for us to submit a draft in of an HCI, and we would make sure that that language is included. But it would be certainly beneficial to the town and not intended to take advantage in any way.
I mean, I think we would want the same deal that other towns are getting.
Absolutely, yep.
And whatever is required by law, obviously. But there was a manufacturing facilities coming to Rowell, or they say they're coming, and they include a 3% local impact fee. So I don't know if that's different from cultivation or what. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, candidly, it's I haven't done an HCA for a cultivation facility in the past, so I don't want to commit the applicant to something. But whatever the extent to the maximum we can provide by law, we will do so.
That'll be the agreement if we work out.
Yeah, right.
What other states is Verdant in?
Just Massachusetts.
Just Massachusetts.
And for folks at home, there's also a 3% sales tax on the
Indeed.
dispensary. So
Indeed.
6% altogether.
But I do think it's different. They are separate facilities. You have the medical use, you have the recreational, you have the cultivation, and you have the
There's no tax on the medical part, right?
There's no tax on the medical part, and I'd also note that the medical host community agreement, I believe it will be done a little bit differently than I think, just in terms of how it's priced out because it is a vertically integrated operation. But again, it would still be, we would seek to honor that 3% commitment.
We'll give it to our lawyer and make sure that his lawyer agrees to your lawyer.
He's probably an expert by now.
Yes.
Bernie?
Right, the size of the, I know nothing about marijuana, honest. So the 25,000 square feet cultivation area, I assume is multiple layers.
Correct, yes.
So there's a multiplier of that in terms of the amount, the number of plants. So that sounds like a wholesale operation to me. So who else will you be supplying in terms of the product?
It's a great question. So candidly, we would be seeking to engage in wholesale agreements with other operators. I would anticipate that given the ever booming number of retail operators in the market, that there's going to be a severe shortage of product in the first couple of years. So although we don't have any specific relationships that we would be working with, I'm fairly confident in the ability of Verdant to identify operators, probably rather swiftly.
You'll be selling it to your other two stores too, right?
Absolutely.
You're cultivating here for all three of your stores.
Correct.
Anybody and everybody.
Well, but the issue is how you manage the host agreement and the money that flows back to the town when you've got a complex selling process and that we won't necessarily have any line of sight to the volume of business that you guys are actually doing.
All right, well, the lawyers will work out all the details, and I don't anticipate a big problem with that.
Absolutely, and I will note, all of the product is tracked via seed-to-sale tracking, which makes it challenging for any applicant to fudge the numbers, if you will.
The bookkeeping is very tight on it.
When we see the agreement, we can be attentive to that issue, see how it's working.
But it's a wonderful issue to bring up, and I don't think neither Tito nor Annie would want to tweak their relationships, their reputation on an issue like that.
Well, not to be greedy here, but I mean, this proposal is very interesting because number one, you're building a new site, so property tax-wise, we benefit.
Absolutely.
Number two, it's on a site by itself, so you're not interfering with any other. Every one of these proposals we've got, for the most part, have got, well, you're close to this store, or you're close to that store, or whatever. So I like that, and allows you with plenty of parking for both the dispensary as well as the cultivation, and it looks like from the site, at least from the pictures, without knowing that if need be, you can expand in the future, like you mentioned, if that's feasible, that you could be able to. I think it sounds like, you know, once again, I'm not a super duper candidates in favor of, but it seems like with all the proposals we've been getting, this seems to be a win-win for the town. Almost similar to the one that we got from the other place that's gonna dispense.
For the manufacturer?
The manufacturer.
Yeah, manufacturing and cultivation, I think are.
So, I mean, I think to me, this is worth saying, I would recommend, you know, at this point, saying, hey, let's give them a letter of.
Is that a motion?
I mean, I don't need to make a motion yet, I don't know what anybody else wants to say, but in other words, I'm positive to moving ahead. I think it's a win-win, and that's why I asked you in the beginning, are you here just to make a presentation, or are you serious about what you're doing? It makes a difference in terms of, you know, obviously you could back out any time, but
If
assuming your intent is to.
If this project goes forward, what do you see for a timeline?
Andy and Tito can attest that I do everything quickly, including speak. So we would anticipate fairly swiftly, once we receive that HCA, immediately submitting a licensure app into the Cannabis Control Commission as quickly as possible, and immediately thereafter we would be putting in a special permanent site plan review application.
Okay.
And you have to have some sort of public hearing or something?
Absolutely, yeah,
I forget what
community
they call
outreach
it.
meeting, correct.
Where will that be? Or have you haven't determined that yet?
We would probably seek to identify a local library or municipal building that's fully accessible, and we would do it. It does take a little while depending on legal notices in the local paper is actually the most challenging part, as well as an abutters list. So we would seek to do that pretty aggressively.
Okay.
I'd like to just make one comment where you, there was an outreach hearing that was over at the library, and they had 2 individuals from the town attended.
Yeah, there's not too much attendance. Everyone they've had, I think.
Mr. Murray and I.
Oh, right.
Well, most people don't seem to care one way or the other. I mean, they, you know, other than
It was
a
a
few lecturers.
good presentation.
Yeah, very nice. You got a lot of information. I'll make a motion to give them a letter of, what's the proper wording?
Support or not?
Letter of
Do you
support.
care what it is? Or?
I would always
Either way.
I think this proposal is one that, a couple of them we've given just, you know, we're fine, but
Yeah.
this one here with all the pluses there, I think a second letter of support is.
Okay, we have a motion's been made and seconded to give them a letter of support. All's in favor?
Aye.
All's opposed? The ayes have it. Thanks for
Thank
coming.
you very much. I appreciate it.
Can I make a quick statement?
Sure.
CEO, I want to thank you. I also want to thank you for your work. I was a city councilor for 7 years, so I understand the tireless work. And just to note, Raleigh is very special to us. We will only have one grow facility. And so our commitment to this facility is actually over and above any of the other facilities that we'll have.
And we love them all equally.
Okay, yeah, that's true. It is on tape. Okay, cool. And I do have to go back to Boston. But you are very special to us. And in this marketplace, getting a grow online is absolutely critical to our business. And so there's a great deal of emphasis that we will have on this Raleigh site.
Good presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
When you come, can you recommend that we get the same pay that you Boston City Council?
I second that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Thank you. We can teach you something.
I'm up to the front row, yes.
Okay, our last final appointment.
Steve Morris is not here.
He's on vacation out of state.
He could not make it back to Maine.
Okay, well, we had an appointment with Steve Morris, president and
But
treasurer.
we have 2 of the board members and we have the manager.
Okay, so I have to go through the drill here, so.
Thought we don't have a manager yet, do we?
Well, the new manager.
The new manager.
I mean, we haven't received any paperwork or any
I filed it with the Board of Health on Wednesday, actually.
Board of Health.
Yes, sir.
You gotta go through us. You know, to start off with the wrong foot, but the last 5 years, VFW and the RVA have had all kinds of paperwork issues. I mean, we have a hearing, we send the stuff into Boston, Boston sends it back for one reason or another, it goes back and forth about 5 times. So we just want to make sure that, it sounds like you're behind the 8 ball already, because right now, the manager is Steve, because he's...
No, he's the president.
No, but I mean, you don't have a manager, because the other manager quit. So until we approve a new manager, there is no manager other than Steve, right? That was, maybe Debbie can explain it better than I'm
Selectmen at the ABCC.
Yeah.
So Mr. Morris is very familiar with that, and in the absence of your former manager who resigned.
Right.
Mr. Morris is solely responsible for
Right.
the operation of the organization. He received a letter mailed on July 30th from Andy Lyden in his office, informing him that he needed to initiate the paperwork,
Right.
get it to the Selectmen's office as soon as possible for the new manager. It's quite detailed online form, and you have to work with the ABCC and get that into the Selectmen's office.
Okay.
So
Didn't-
evidently you have not received that paperwork.
No. Can I ask each of you to say, identify yourself and say what your role is for the VA?
My name is Dan Larshall. I'm on the board of directors.
Okay.
Fred Hardy, Bradford Street, and I am the board of directors.
I was Michelle's assistant manager, and now I'm Cormac O'Neill, the new manager.
Acting
Pending approval.
Right.
Okay, so one issue was we're hoping that Steve would show up tonight, but one issue was the manager. I mean, so it has to be approved by the town and by the ABCD. So you're saying you're gonna, that paperwork will be submitted?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Wasn't it submitted Wednesday?
No, it's gotta
Well,
go-
that's enough
I
of the-
don't know what the Board of Health has got to do with it, but...
Yeah.
I thought that was step 1, the Board of Health, and then step 2 is the ABC once they get their approval.
The priority is you have to get this paperwork in ASAP,
I will drop it in.
because if not, you're gonna end up losing a
This
license
office.
until it gets in.
Yes, sir.
We'll make that happen.
You need to talk to the office staff.
You know, they need to go online to the
Okay.
ABCC and fill
Yep.
out the paperwork.
Yep, I have it printed out in the office. I literally thought I had to wait on the local licensing, the Board of Health to start it off.
So the board, the LLA, that's the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
Have you ever worked in this capacity before? Because this should be
I
a very
did.
familiar process. It's not the health department.
Okay,
The LLA is the Board of Selectmen.
okay.
So that needs to be filled out, printed, and brought in,
I'll drop it in tomorrow.
and then the selectmen will have to take that up at a future meeting.
Yeah, we'll have to have a public
At
hearing.
this point, Mr. Morris is solely responsible for the operation of that organization.
Okay, so that's one issue that needs to be taken care of. The other thing, I think another issue is the use of alcohol, serving of alcohol outside the building. My understanding is your license currently doesn't allow that, and we've gotten a complaint from a butter who says that you have been serving alcohol outside the building, you've been having loud rock concerts, at least that's how it's been described. It's very upsetting to the abutter, it's loud, it goes on late at night, and again, alcohol is being served, which you're not supposed to be doing. Right, Debbie?
I'd like to speak on that if you don't mind.
Sure.
There is a area that was built up, and as far as I know, and I might be wrong, in the area outside, as long as you have a plastic cup, you're allowed to go outside and sit down. That is untrue?
That's untrue. Oh, the RVA came in the spring
Yeah.
looking for the ability to serve alcohol outside. They were given all the information as what it would take. It's an extensive permitting process. We have to okay it. I believe the ZBA, because it's a non-conforming use, you have to have a hearing before them.
I actually think it's the planning board.
The planning board, and then whatever, if we give the okay, the stuff goes into the state. The state then comes back, and the one we had one with the barbecue place, got the authority.
Right.
It's a relatively long process.
Okay.
And it's involved and very detailed, because and then we have to have a public hearing for that, so that the neighbors can express. So basically, there's no alcohol allowed outside, either in cups or served, or everything takes place inside the building until, if and when you get the permission to use the outdoor facility, the outside facility.
Okay, now that we know this,
Was it this way?
we'll make sure that will happen.
because some of us were on the understanding that if the area was built in and separated, we had the permission to do that. Evidently, we don't. So we will make sure that is taken care of.
No, I don't want to see that, we don't need this now.
And we
In other
also,
words,
we don't
right
have
now,
one
until you
concept.
get license approval from us and the ABCC.
This is approved
This is approved from yourselves and the ABCC from 2016, sir.
It's from the planning board? Well,
Yes,
they have
sir.
nothing to do with liquor, but, okay, can I see what you have?
This would,
That's a memo from the town planner to the Board of Selectmen from 2016. In 2016, the former manager, Mr. Edwards, spoke to Amy in the office who handles the liquor licenses and broached the idea of expanding the current license the RVA had to patios. The ABCC issued some guidelines, and unfortunately, I don't think you've read the second page, which says you have to have an application and it must be approved. So he did look into it. She said that would be an alteration of premises application. He met with the town planner. He looked at it, but there was never an application filed for that. And in fact, he came back and spoke to Amy on May 12th, 2016. And because there had been a number of serious issues with the current status of the liquor license, the board of directors had not been updated. They wouldn't approve the change of manager for Mr. Edwards because of that. The articles of organization weren't filed. There was some Department of Revenue issues. He said, we're not ready for this alteration of premise because nothing would be approved by the ABCC until these other housekeeping things were taken care of, which he did work through ultimately, and everything got resolved except the articles of organization. Last fall, when the RVA presented the new manager at the time, Ms. Moon, her application for change of manager was stalled because the articles of organization, when the ABCC audited the files, said they weren't up to date. She eventually got them in, and she was approved on February 28th, 2018 by the ABCC. So those are the actions that we've taken. We did the look back since 2016. So Mr. Edwards never filed anything. When Michelle got officially approved by the ABCC in the end of February, she then in April made inquiries about the expanding the premises. So the premises is very clearly defined in their original liquor license. So the alteration of premise application was filed by her. There was an issue with the notification to abutters, and she, on behalf of the RVA, asked to withdraw without prejudice, which the board voted on in early May. And since then, there has been no filing.
So the planning board has nothing to do with use of liquor, right? They're just not within their jurisdiction.
And we did ask Mr. Edwards to speak to the planning board to see if there are any other permitting issues or things that would have to be addressed outside of liquor that would deal with noise and traffic or things that would be outside. And that's why he had that cursory conversation. In general, he provided, I think, a draft sketch, but that was not an official filing of any formal application with the planning board. It certainly wasn't with the Board of Selectmen.
Right. Well, the two
Because
processes.
he had to resolve these other issues, and he did work to get, almost everything resolved.
The two separate
So there's a
processes.
big
You have to follow both, right?
Well, we are trying very hard to resolve these problems, and a lot of us are new at this, but we are absolutely trying to resolve this. But until this is resolved, we'll make sure that nobody does go outside, because we were on the understanding in that enclosed area, it was legal, that we were told.
Right.
Now we understand that is wrong.
Okay.
The other thing that was mentioned here about having rock concerts.
I don't know if that's the word you use. So,
Yeah. A lot of times we will have veterans, a fund, say, and for veterans to come in. Like we'll have a poker run out of there with 30 motorcycles. They come back, all the money goes to help veterans. So a lot of the things we do is to help better all the veterans in our community.
Well, the thing is, Fred, what the problem you run into is you've got to get along with your neighbors.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it sounds like right now, there are some issues with it. That's one of the things when Michelle came in, we emphasized with her that it needs to be a public hearing. You're going to have neighbors come in. So if you're burning your bridges now,
Right.
These people are gonna come in and oppose what you wanna do there, so you gotta make,
It's not like
I would recommend two things. Make friends with your neighbors, and number two, I'm not a lawyer, but I would recommend you get some kind of legal help to help you get through this whole process.
Yeah.
It's a complicated
I agree.
legal process, and you'll spend the next year driving everybody crazy, including this office, coming back and forth 10 times. And part of that's happened 2 or 3 times in the past.
Yeah.
Everybody tries to, oh, we can do this, it looks easy, but it's very, everything, even if we do it, we send the stuff in, and then the state ABCC sends it back and says, no, you need this and you need that, so, it's not up to, we're in the process, but ultimately you have to get permission from the ABCC, and they're very strict about every little detail being fulfilled.
Okay.
I mean, it's a complicated process, so I recommend getting someone who is familiar, even if you know someone in town that has a liquor license that can recommend someone that they use to help you with the process. Because without some help, I foresee we're going to keep going like we've gone in the past. The last 4 or 5 years has been change of managers down there, and they went from the VFW to the RVA, and then, it's gone through a number of changes. And every one has been very difficult, particularly for the staff here who are very busy. So they want to get the application, they want to be able to process it, give it to us. We get it, okay, fine, everything's done, and it goes in. Planning board's the same way. They want to get whatever they're going to get. So we would recommend that you really talk to someone and not only get the forms, but get some help in filling out those forms.
Because when we went in, again, we walked in, and a lot of us didn't know exactly how to go about this. We're just trying to save it.
Liquor is very tightly regulated, and it's a lot of steps that have to be taken. And you were here for the cannabis things. It's the same thing with the cannabis. It's all these things are very tightly regulated, and you jump through a lot of hoops. When you get it all done, it's fine, but up until then, it's.
I think that's.
And the other thing is emphasize with your customers that if the police take a ride through and there's people drinking outside, they're going to make a complaint to us. We're going to call you in, and we're going to suspend the license. So we're the ones that can do that. So you've got to control your customers.
Even yesterday when we were, we had a function outside, when there was drinking outside, but we had a policeman on duty outside with us.
Well, that's when we found out he was unaware of what, if he was there, he was unaware. But now the police department's aware of
so I mean,
everybody.
We thought we were in compliance. That's why.
We're looking by that one. We're starting fresh today.
Okay, so we thought we have a fenced-in area.
No more outside, and let your customers know. But if they drink outside and get caught, it's not them that's going to get hurt. It's going to be the RVA is the one that's going to get the license pulled.
Okay, I think we're all
We hate to be a pain, but
we will make sure that doesn't happen again.
and that's the same rules as everybody else.
Right.
We just had the barbecue place jump through hoops for 6 months trying to get their outdoor thing going. They finally got it all set, and as far as I know, it's running fine. But you have to get the process right.
And we'll make sure he gets squared away.
Yeah, get that paperwork in right away from the new manager, and if you got a new board or you got a change in board members, all those names have to be up to date and
We
included.
think everything is up to date now.
Yeah.
The
Right.
managers worked really hard with the former manager, Mr. Edwards, did get most of the heavy stuff done. There was a lot of outdated things that needed to be filed, and when Ms. Moon took over, it was essentially the articles of organization that the state was asking for. So that was finally, I think you're
Right, we're getting there.
set, but now you do have the change of manager, the application's online, it is not very difficult, there's query check involved, there's a number of things, and it's sent in here, and after the selectmen approve it, it will go to the ABCC investigator, and they'll begin their own review, and that could take a long time.
Yeah, if you get the paperwork in, we'll process it. Starting in Labor Day, we meet weekly, so if you get the paperwork in and the board and the administrator approves it, we'll get it on the agenda very quickly.
All right.
It's up to you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you very
guys.
much. Yeah, thanks for coming in. Good luck.
It's been a long night.
I don't know what you do without that lady.
We don't know either, so be nice to her.
Hey, I'll see you downtown.
Take care.
We have one item of general business that's authorized me to sign the 911 grant form.
Need a motion.
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
This is with the Peace app, right?
Yeah, for the police department.
We have one item of new business. A review of first right of refusal for sale of affordable unit at 870 Haverhill Street, submitted by Eric Painter. I assume this is just to say that we're not going to purchase the unit. which
I'll
we're
give you
not
a motion
going
to not purchase the unit.
Okay.
Second.
It's up at, what's the address? It's up on Haverhill Street.
870?
870, yeah.
It's like condos.
Yeah, it's a condos, yeah.
Yeah, affordable.
Oh, do I need to sign anything? I guess not, huh?
No, we'll document that in the
Okay.
form of a letter back.
Okay, one item of old business.
Do we do a motion on?
Oh, did we?
All in favor?
All- Motion's been made and seconded. All those in
Getting punch
favor?
drunk now.
Aye. Those opposed? You guys have it.
Thank you, Joe.
One item of old business, an update on the fire station, the police station addition project.
They're moving along. They're in the process of shingling the roof at this time. They're going to be sheetrocking the interiors. We've got a building committee meeting on Thursday morning at 11 o'clock here in the office to deal with the communication center stuff that we're doing. So it's really moving along quite well. It may slow down a little bit this week if the rain keeps up. I don't know if they can roof in the rain, but other than that, it's coming along. And in the fall, before fall, we hope, or in September, we'll be paving. Once they finish digging up everything, they're still digging up pipes and drainage and stuff like that, and they'll put the first coat of pavement down, so, before winter sets in anyway. So.
Great.
Yeah, it's looking good down there.
Yeah, it's coming along.
Okay, minutes. We have minutes for June 21. I was absent. Everyone else was here.
I'll give you a motion for June
Second.
21.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain.
Motion for July 2nd?
Second.
All's in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All's opposed? The ayes have it. Aye. Motion, July 30th. Dave was
I think
absent.
I was absent, right?
Yeah. Bob Mary was absent too.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion,
Give you a motion.
Second.
all's in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All's opposed?
Abstain.
The ayes have it. Announcements.
Watching that on TV, it was like the old days with a three-man board.
The band 3 Blocks East will be giving a free concert on the town common on Saturday, August 25th at 6 p.m. The pool at the YMCA Camp Cedar Mill on Weathersfield Street is open for the summer season. The pool is free for Raleigh residents. The hours are Monday through Friday from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. and on weekends from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. The town has the following vacancies: Agricultural Commission Associate, Cultural Council, Council on Aging, Fence Viewer, 3 positions, Wood, Lumber, and Bark Inspector, Zoning Board of Appeals Associate, 3 seats, Parks and Recreation Committee, 1 seat, and Deputy Shellfish Constables, 2 positions. For more information on these positions, please contact the Selectmen's office at 948-2372. The Raleigh Food Pantry is in need of donations. Donations can be left at the Raleigh Public Library. The food pantry is open on Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and on Thursdays from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I know I may be out of order, but I have a question about the electricity at the gazebo. Can I ask?
Certainly.
Are we going to have electricity for the band?
Supposed to.
We did get an email on that, right?
Yeah, it seemed to say that, the electrician looked at it and...
I talked to the electrician the other day when he went and checked all 3 outlets, and he said that the electrical problem probably was from the old hot dog maker.
Yep.
Okay, and it was on the same circuit, the 2. And if they were on it, they probably blew the circuit.
They were drawing too much power, the 2 together.
They were both on the same
What we need
circuit.
to do is check, if anybody's gonna use the electrical outlets, there's 3 of them, make sure that they use each, separate. Don't use, draw all the power out of the one, okay? And because they're on a GFI, and that's gonna trip.
And the hot dog makers draw a lot of power for that.
Right. I just wanted to be...
Yeah.
Yep, okay. All right.
But I did talk.
It'll be a cappella.
And Amy reached out to the band 3 Blocks East, that's scheduled to be at the concert on August 25th. And advised them to just test the outlets.
Yes, I would strongly.
Yeah, because we don't meet again until
But
after the
problem,
concert.
the mystery more or less has been resolved.
Great. That's good to hear.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
Give the motion.
It's been made and,
Did you raise your hand?
oh, no, sorry.
Oh, okay. Give me that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. We're adjourned.
Thank you.